everyone, this is Chetna Sharma. I'm Assistant Professor of Law and I'm NET qualified, and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel Lawimpactacademy. So friends, as you all know that I'm running a series of Specific Relief Act. Today we are here to discuss Section 13 of Specific Relief Act. But before starting this video, I'll request you to please subscribe our channel, that is Factesium. This is my niece channel and he brings so many different facts that are very practical in today's life. So when we talk about practical, Section 13 is also very practical section. Section 13 deals with a practical situation. What is that practical situation? For example, if you go to a person for purchase of some property or for lease of a house on rent, and then you contract with the person that you will pay 5,000 rupees for 1 month, and you and that person is agreed on that contract, and later on when you move to that house you find that the person to whom you contracted is not the actual owner. He represents that he is the owner of that house and made a contract with you. Then what are the remedies available to you? Section 13 is all about. So let's discuss Section 13 in detail with Barrett.
So Section 13 basically talks about the rights of purchaser or lessee against the person with no title or imperfect title. That means Section 13 basically deals with the right of purchaser or lessee in respect to such parties to contract who have no title in the property or their title is incomplete. No title is in itself the clear word, there is no ambiguity in it. That no title means no authority to sell or to contract to give it on lease. And imperfect title means the title is not complete. For example, A is father and B is his son, and B will get property after the demise of his father. So at that time B is having imperfect title. Alright. So let's understand Section 13. Section 13 subsection 1 says where a person contract to sell or let certain immovable property. Here Section 13 subsection 1 is talking about immovable property. So in immovable property having no title or only an imperfect title. That means if any person who is not having perfect title made a contract with any person, then the person who is purchasing or the person is agreeing to take immovable property on lease, that person is having some right that are discussed under Section 13 subsection 1. So let's understand it with the help of example. Here in this example A is father and B is his son. So in this example B made a contract with C that he will sell the house to C. At the time of performance C find that B was having no title or the title of B is imperfect. Alright, at the time he made the contract. So in this case or in this example the situation is clear. Now what are the remedies that C is having, that we will discuss in Section 13. So the first remedy that C is having is mentioned in Section 13 subsection 1 clause A. Alright. So clause A says that if the vendor or lessor has subsequently to the contract acquired any interest in the property. That means in this example if after the demise of A, B get the ownership of this house, then C can compel him to transfer the house to C. That means if the vendor or lessor has subsequently to the contract acquired any interest in property, the purchaser or lessee, that means in this example C is purchaser, So C may compel him, C may compel B to make good the contract out of such interest. Here section 13 is based on the doctrine that is feeding the grant by estoppel. That means where a person represents valid title and enters into contract to sell any property and subsequently acquires valid title, so he cannot evade the performance of such contract, but is obliged to perform the contract and cannot plead the prior defective or imperfect title to evade the contract. At this time, B cannot say that I was not having perfect title at the time I made a contract. And section 13 works on the doctrine feeding the grant by estoppel is held by the courts in the case of PC Havaldar versus Logan Das. This was the case of MP, and in this case it was clearly mentioned by the court that section 13 of a Specific Relief Act works on this doctrine. Now let's move towards section 13 subsection 1 clause B. Clause B says where the concurrence of other person is necessary for validating the title and they are bound to concur at the request of the vendor or lessor, the purchaser or lessee may compel him to procure such concurrence. And same condition is with conveyance. For understanding it, let's take the example of a firm. In firm, we know that the partner work for each for individual and other also. So for example, A and B is a partner and A made a contract with C for the sale of some property. Here the partnership deed between the two partners clearly mentioned that whenever a partner sells something, he must consent with or he must take concurrence of other partner also. But here if A made a contract with C and not taken the concurrence of other partner, so here the purchaser or the lessee can compel the partner A to take the concurrence of partner B. Why? To validating the title. If partner A taken the concurrence of partner B, the title would be perfect and purchaser or lessee will have no issues. Alright, so this is all about section 13 subsection 1 clause B. Now let's move towards section 13 subsection 1 clause C. Clause C says that where the vendor professed to sell unencumbered property, but the property is mortgaged for an amount not exceeding the purchase money and the vendor has in fact only a right to redeem it, the purchaser may compel him to redeem the mortgage and to obtain a valid discharge and where necessary also a conveyance from the mortgagee. The vendor is professing or representing that the property is unencumbered. Unencumbered means there is no charge or loan or mortgage on such property. He is professing that. That means representing that the property is free from all charges. But later on, the purchaser of such property or lessee found that the property is under any mortgage and the mortgage amount is not exceeding the purchase money. Alright, and the vendor is actually having a right to redeem it. So in this situation, the purchaser can compel him to redeem the mortgage and obtain a valid discharge over such mortgage. And where necessary, purchaser can also ask for the conveyance. Conveyance means transfer. That means if the property is under the possession of mortgagee, the purchaser can ask the vendor that he will also give the possession of such property from the mortgagee to the purchaser. So this is all about section 13 subsection 1 clause C. Now let's move towards section 13 subsection 1 clause D. It says where the vendor or lessor sues for specific performance of the contract and the suit is dismissed on the ground of his want of title or imperfect title. The defendant has a right to return of his deposit, if any, with interest thereon, to his cost of the suit and to a line for such deposit, interest and cost on the interest, if any, of the vendor or lessor in the property which is the subject matter of the contract. Let's understand this also with the help of example. For example, A made a contract with B for the selling of a house, and the purchase money of house is 1 lakh. B paid half of the amount in advance, that is 50,000 B paid in advance. Now, if at the time of the performance of this contract B found that A was having no title or having imperfect title, and B denies to pay the left 50,000 rupees, and A sues the B and go to the court for obtaining the decree of specific performance of the contract, but his suit is dismissed on the ground of his want of title or imperfect title, then the defendant has a right to return of his deposit. In this example, the defendant is already paid 50,000 in advance, so he will get back that deposit, and with that deposit he will also get the interest on such deposit and also the cost of the suit, and if court ordered, also the interest for lying such deposit and interest and cost also. So this is all about section 13 subsection 1 clause D. Now moving forward, there is also section 13 subsection 2. Section 13 subsection 2 says the provision of subsection 1 shall also apply as far as may be to the contract for the sale or hire of movable property. That means section 13 applies to both movable as well as immovable property. Section 13 subsection 1 deals with immovable property, and section 13 subsection 2 is extending the application of section 13 subsection 1 to movable properties also, and to the contract of sale or hire of movable property. So this is all about section 13.
So hope section 13 is clear to all of you, and if you're still having any doubt, you can write it on comment box, and we will meet with our next section in my next video. Till then, do watch the other videos of this series and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching Lawimpactacademy.